All right, let's do a quick speed round. We talked about a couple books throughout today. A couple Dan Sullivan books. But what's a book that's had the biggest impact on you, David?
Oh my goodness. Probably, I would never thought about starting a business until I read Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah,
Back in 2000 and like that was like probably 2011, 2010, 2011. Yeah.
yeah.
The book that's made the biggest difference on me though, and I make anybody who wants to be a leader in our company needs to read the book The Gap and the Gain by Benjamin Hardy and Dan
So
Sullivan.
good, so good.
I've read that book 3 times.
Yeah,
Um, and it's absolutely life changing,
yeah,
especially for people who are hard driven, or entrepreneurs or want to be or successful people.
yeah,
I think that's the book that's changed my life the most, and I've given that book out to more people. Yeah.
yeah. I love The Gap and the Gain. I love that book, and I love Rich Dad Poor Dad. And I actually met the author. I met Robert. When I launched, I wrote a book and I launched it. My publishing group launched, and I went to New York, and I was walking around the book expo, and he was just sitting there by himself. He was just sitting there by himself. So I went up, I talked to him for like 15 minutes, and then he said, "Hey, I got to run to the bathroom. I'll be right back." And I thought, well, I don't know if he's going to come back. He came back. We talked for another, I think, 10, 15 minutes. It was great because I love the book so much, like you, that you always want the author, if you ever do, or anybody, to kind of represent themselves in a way that you visualize them after reading some of their stuff. So yeah, he was great. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
Oh my goodness. I couldn't give you one right off the top of my head.
Okay, all right. Best piece of wisdom you give somebody today?
Don't be too hard on yourself. I think
Yeah,
run your own race. People are super weird right now, and I find it like my generation is getting out of it, but the younger generation, it's like oh my goodness, like just you
chill
don't
out.
need
Yeah,
yeah you don't need like it's super weird with social media and what you see, these random people that are the top 1% of 1% of 1% that did XYZ. That's not like really the gold standard.
yeah,
um, I know a lot of successful people and a lot of people who are very famous on social media that are completely miserable.
yeah,
um, that's not a good life. And like there's a lot of like honestly like if you're before the age of 30, and you're happily married, God's blessed you with the ability to buy a house, and you've got a car and you got a roof over your head, maybe you have a kid or two. I mean, there's not a better life. You can't have a better life than that. I think, honestly, if you have a roof over your head, you eat 3 meals a day, and you are able to drive a car, and you have a cell phone that can call anybody in the world at any time, you're pretty blessed.
yeah,
And I think that's like people do not realize that at all, and people make themselves miserable because they have these weird expectations that don't even matter in their life at all. And people should just run their own race, figure out what's important in your life. It can be anything. What's the standards that you want to live your life by, not society standards, but what are your standards
yeah,
that you need to do to live a good life?
yeah,
And chase after that. Don't chase after random stuff that
yeah.
society tells you to do.
I couldn't agree more. I think it is a couple comments on that, which is, it's interesting. I'm 52, and I have another company. I have my coaching company, but I also have another platform called Launch Three, and it's really for young adults. It's to build kind of life skills, branding, personal branding skills, and career. And it's just an incredible platform, and it's $10 a month, and we're teaching things that we believe um, they just aren't learning other places, and quick snippets. And And so I'm talking to a lot of 18 to 30-year-olds who are joining this program, et cetera. But the level of stress to know what they need to do for the rest of their lives, and it's I couldn't agree more. To get grounded and know you got to run your own race. There was an article I read in 2008, as you're talking, reminds me, in the Atlantic, and it was called "Is Google Making Us Stupid?" And what the article talked about was that technology is rewiring our brains. And this was in 2008. It's rewiring our brains from delayed gratification to instant gratification. And I think, to your point, there's all of this, like everything's got to happen overnight. I interviewed somebody on a podcast the other day, and they were saying, if I told somebody who's graduating college today that I could offer them a job for $250,000, they would say, no way, I want to make $250 million. And just, if and one of the things Dan Sullivan talks about is, if you do something too idealistic, you can never get to your goal, because you're never moving. One of my favorite quotes, David, which has guided me through moving through different careers, is "Success without fulfillment equals failure," Tony Robbins. Because it's, to me, to your point, it's all about, if you're not fulfilled, then what are you doing it for? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of it has to, some of it has to do with that, and another piece of it is my generation grew up with like in with very split families. So a lot of my friends, their parents were divorced. It's harder when or they had to. I mean, I've been in a lot of different social economic situations and environments, and a lot of my friends, they came from single family homes, right?
Yeah.
In real tough situations. So like when you, like, if you don't have a father in the home, like that's one of the biggest predictors of learning delayed gratification.
Yeah.
Or a lot of kids didn't, in my generation, we just didn't get the love that we should have from our parents. And
Yeah.
so you spend 10, 15 years trying to figure out what success means instead of just being loved for who you are.
Yeah.
And so you start chasing all these weird things that society tells you, because you never got that love from your parents. So, but the cool thing is from that is I see so many of my friends who didn't have that support growing up. They're the best dads and moms you could ever imagine. And so like, those are like really good things. Like actually, like the divorce rate in the United States is going down. There's people are staying married longer. There's a lot of really, really good trends, and a lot of it comes from the pain of not having that. And I think that's where a lot of the fracturing of society went too, along with technology. But I just think it's so important to you're much more grounded when you're loved just exactly for who you are. And that was the best advantage I ever had, is I had two people who loved each other and they loved me.
Yeah.
And I didn't need to make money, or I didn't need to be a great football player, or I didn't need to accomplish external things to be validated for who I was. And I think too many people, unfortunately, right now, that they have to do that.
Yeah. I grew up the same way. My parents loved each other. I mean, not that my house was perfect, but
Yeah, no.
but unconditional love. It was pretty strong in my house.
Yeah, like you look at, like, you can just tell when you talk to you. Then you have, like, when you have that, you have a lot of empathy for other people. You can coach other people. You can help guide people through that, because you're not. You don't have those broken pieces yourself. I mean, we all have pains and different struggles and different, pain points in our life, but that especially being loved as a child, you love your own kids with that unconditional love, and then mentor and help other people get through difficult things, which is really cool. So
yeah, it's great. It's great. Finish this sentence. Last question. One thing everybody can do to build one new / better habit today is?
One habit that everybody could do is, I think exercising first thing in the morning is a complete game changer. I mean, if you want to level up your productivity by 200, 300, 400%, sweating first thing in the morning, it doesn't have to be a lot, but 20 minutes of exercise first thing in the morning, it'll change your life.
It's great.